We recently had Angie Meeker from OptiMonster on to talk about why building an email list is so important. And today we've asked her back to cover how to get your first 100 email subscribers. And we'll briefly talk about why we picked that number as our first goal. So let's dive in. Angie, I'm bringing you back on today because the first one was just amazing. And we're talking about growing your email list. And we wanted to get a little bit more actionable. And that's why I wanted to have you on today to just help us in growing our email list and get that first 100 email subscribers. And so as we get started, I just wanted to kind of lay the groundwork for anybody who didn't watch the last episode. And if you haven't, we'll have it in the show notes below. But can you just remind us why having an email list is so important?
So it's personal. Every time someone subscribes to your list, they're telling you, the person you, that they are interested in what you have to share. And then you have an opportunity to turn around and speak to that individual person. Even though you're using software to do it in mass, you're still talking one to one, and that's a one to one conversation. So that's really the first reason. It's human, very personal. It's scalable. So it works whether you have a list of 10 people or you have a list of 10,000 people. The principles that we talk about are the same across the board. It's easily measured. So unlike some other channels where the metrics are a little bit hard to nail down, like specifically on social media, it's kind of hard to nail down what exactly is reach, what exactly is engagement on different channels, because they all measure it a little bit differently. Email marketing is not like that. You have the number of subscribers, the number of people who open your emails, the number of people who click, and then the number of people who take whatever action you want them to do. And so that's very easily measured. And I think that makes it a little more approachable than some other opportunities that you might have for marketing. And it works for every type of business. You can be a publisher, you can be a SaaS, you can be a blogger, e-commerce, small business. The principles are the same for all of those types of businesses. So, and the risk is lower. It's just lower than having to go through a third party to try to communicate with your audience like you would with a social network where they're in control and they own everything.
I love that. So we want to start our list and we're going to talk about some actionable items. Why do you think the first 100 email subscribers is such a big milestone? We kind of hear that a lot of get your first
Yeah.
100 and then you're good to go. Why is that such a big, important milestone?
Yeah, I think so. Just so everyone knows, technically, there's no technical reason why 100 is better than 101. Like, it's not going to, your email list is not going to like magically turn into a princess overnight once it gets to 100. That's not how that works. But it's validation for you. It really does serve as validation for you that there are a good number of people out there in the world who are interested in what you're sharing and want to hear from you. And I think some people get really disappointed by 100 people. They're like, "Oh, that's so few people." But here's how I want you to think about it. If you were hosting a party this weekend and 100 people showed up, you would probably be thrilled. Or if you got all dressed up and you went to present a lecture about what your understanding of a subject is at a university and 100 people came to hear you, you probably would be pretty happy with that. So that's how I want you to think about it. You have to get to 100 to get to 1,000. So don't focus on the 1,000. Instead, focus on that first 100 who will probably stay with you for a very long time. The people who join you at the start, they're very likely to stay with you for a long time, and they will help you. Those 100 will help you get to 1,000. When you pay attention to them, you give them a really good experience, you help them understand your offers and your expertise, they will help you get to that 1,000. So it's really, for me, it's a mindset thing. Not getting focused on what's too far in the future, but what's achievable and approachable now.
Yeah, and I think it's also you kind of gamify it a little bit in that you've got your 100, now you can move on to more
That's right.
and enjoy that process. Um,
That's right.
so we're gonna shoot for 100. How long will
Yeah.
that take typically to get there?
Yeah, so this is a good question, and I wish I could say, like, it's gonna take 2 hours and 2 day or 2 days and 2 hours, 2 minutes, but I just can't put an exact number on that. It really depends on how aggressive you wanna be in asking people to subscribe. For at Opt-in Monster, we have a lot of people come in who are just getting started with their email marketing, and what I see is that the majority of them, if they're not if they have another job they're doing during the daytime, and this is kind of their hobby that they're working on, or they're trying to dedicate more time to it, I see most of them that can get there at max within a month. Now, many of them get there in the first week. if it really just depends on how aggressive they are in sharing the invitation. And a lot of that, again, is mindset, because you have to, in a lot of ways, you have to convince yourself people want to hear what I have to share. And so you have to, kind of psych yourself up to make that offer repeatedly, knowing that the more you offer it, the closer you're going to get to that 100 people. If you already have traffic to your site, obviously that's going to be much easier. A lot of people, they have a website, they just haven't done any email marketing at all. And so getting to that first 100 obviously is much easier in that case. But yeah, very achievable for sure.
Okay. And then you also talk about the confidence level. It's almost like just be confident in what you're serving, what you're offering, and be
Yeah.
confident in the fact that people want to hear from you. You said that in the last
Yes.
episode, and I was like, that is pretty amazing. It's almost like we're having to coach ourselves into like, people like us. They want to be on our email list. Let's
Yes.
just give them the opportunity
That's
to
right.
do that. So I like it. So
Yeah,
what are
exactly.
some actionable tips? Okay, you said it could take
Yeah.
anywhere from, a little bit to a long time, but how do we do this?
Yeah.
How do we make it super fast?
Sure. Well, the very first thing that I tell new people getting started is, especially if you have your website already, so we're going to assume that these listeners do. The very first thing I want you to do is add an exit intent pop-up to your website. And what that does is it will display your email marketing offer, or the option to join your list, when someone attempts to leave your website. 70% of the people to your website are going to leave without taking any action. And if they leave and you don't get their email address, you will not have the opportunity to continue to convince them to do whatever you want them to do. So when that person goes to leave, make your best offer, whatever it happens to be. That could be a discount, free shipping. It could be a lead magnet, whatever it happens to be. That's the very first thing I want you to do, because you are working so hard to get traffic to your site. And we want to make sure that traffic doesn't leave without getting that opportunity to join your list. Most important thing. The second most important thing is really, and this kind of goes along with that, just knowing that you have to make the offer on a repeat, multiple times. Make your email opt-in, like add it to the end of your articles. Whatever, if it's if you have pages on your site, posts on your site, products, whatever it happens to be, I want you to make the offer to join your email list at the end of every single article. Now, software like OptiMonster makes that very easy. You can literally just say display at the end of the post or the page.
Thank you, because I was
And
about
then
to get
kind of,
nervous that I had to go into each post
yeah.
and put it at the end manually. So thank you.
No, no. It's one little checkbox to just be able to say, at least with OptiMonster, to be able to say, hey, display this at the end of every single article. And there's a few more targeting options now too, as far as where you want to automatically place those within your content. Um, and then just for those who maybe are already doing that exact thing, you already have your offer at the end of your articles. I would encourage you to take that same exact offer and make it multiple times throughout your content. What we have found is that the person who will make that same offer several times throughout the page or post will find that they will increase conversions from that, because the person who, number one, if a person doesn't get all the way to the bottom of your article, they're never going to see that email opt-in in the first place, right? So the person who sees the offer when they're first starting to read your article might not be ready to say yes yet. So offer it about halfway down and maybe they're convinced. If they're not convinced there, then maybe they're convinced by the end. And we definitely see conversions, or the number of people subscribing, increase when you do that. And that's such a simple thing. But again, it goes back to understanding that people want what you have to offer. You just have to make the offer multiple times, because people need to hear it multiple times before they're ready to make a decision.
Yeah, they do. Now, a quick technical question on that. When I
Yeah.
add multiples on a page, can I tell which one's doing better, or does it
Yeah.
matter?
So what I encourage, if you add the same, at least with OptinMonster, if you add the same exact campaign multiple times through one piece of content, and someone converts the first instance of it, it will trigger a conversion for every instance of that exact campaign. So in that way, no. So what I suggest instead, just duplicate your campaign. Rename it something like top, middle, bottom. And that way you begin to see which one converted, because and we have a case study about this where it was actually the sixth instance of an offer in a very long article that converted best for her. So yeah, duplicate it and make it multiple times. Um Yeah. So speaking of case studies, though, one of the other things that you can do is look at your most popular content on your site and turn those into lead magnets. So you already know when people are coming to, we'll talk like define kind of what a lead magnet is, but when people are coming to your site, you can look at your Google Analytics or your Monster Insights and you can see this is my most popular content. This is what people want the most from me. And so, how do we take that same content and turn it into something that people will subscribe to get? Um, you can let's say again, we're going to go back kind of to the cookie episode from from the last time we chatted, right? So if you know that the majority of the visitors on your site get really excited about your brownie recipe, why not offer that brownie recipe throughout the rest of your site? Say, hey, subscribe for our most popular recipe, and I'll send it straight to your email inbox. And you can take that one piece of content that you already have written, that you already know performs well, that people are interested in, and you can turn that into something that people will subscribe to get access to anywhere on the site. That's pretty easy. We have a course within OptiMonster University, which is included with all subscriptions, that teaches you exactly how to make a lead magnet. Lead magnet is just something that you exchange, something of value that you exchange with your visitors for an email address. That's all it is. It can be anything that would prove valuable to them that they will give their email address to you for. So in this case, a recipe, and you just offer that across your site, and using the content that you already know is popular. That's what people are already telling you they want from you. So don't guess. Use your analytics to help inform how you're going to grow your email list.
And I have a question about that because so
Yeah,
I have this article on my site. You're saying it's popular. You're saying turn that into a lead magnet. And
yeah.
you're saying that even though it's on my site for free, I can turn it into this lead magnet and people will actually add their email address to get it what's already on my site.
That's absolutely right. And so you can do it one of two ways. You can take that existing content. Well, because the thing is this, people come to your site and when you use brownies and cookies, right? They came to look at brownies. They don't know that you have this awesome cookie recipe somewhere else on the website. So make the offer and say, "Hey, this is what's most popular on our website. Would you like to get access to it?" Or another way to, if again, if your cookie recipe is what converts best for you, you can use something like OptinMonster to shuttle them over to the cookie recipe when they get done reading about brownies. They finish all of your brownie article and you say, hey, you might also really like this cookie article. And you send them over to that. And then that's where you say, subscribe for our 10 best cookie recipes or that type of thing, if you know that one's actually better converting for you. The simplest way to do it, though, truly, even easier than taking your existing popular post and putting it like into a Word document where you then deliver it as a part of your welcome email or that type of thing. The simplest way to do it is use what we call content locking, sometimes called gated content. And this is fantastic. I love this. Is such an easy way, especially for listeners who already have content on their site that's performing well. You look at your best performing content. Let's say it's a blog post about brownies. We're going to stick with that. Um, and you go in about maybe 3 paragraphs down into that brownie article and you add an email opt-in that says, if you would like the rest of this recipe, or if you'd like to read the rest of this recipe, subscribe now. And when they subscribe, it unlocks or unhides all the rest of that article. Until they subscribe, the content is hidden. They can't read about the world's best brownie until they subscribe. But after they subscribe, then that all becomes available to them. And that is really the simplest way to take the thing that you already know people are interested in and it's already working for you and use it to grow your email list. We had a customer do this. They're called trading strategy guides. And I'll share the link with you, Christina, so that you guys can share it. They use that exact method. They looked at their site, the most popular piece of content locked it. That's all they did. And they grew their list by 7,500 in 1 month.
Are you serious? That's so
Yes,
crazy.
and that's all they did. They just took the content people already wanted, that they were already demanding, and just put it behind a content lock.
See,
And
when
they grew
people
their
just
list
talk
from
about
that.
just start
So,
an email list, they don't realize just how granular you can get and providing the value to your audience already. It's kind of amazing when you start to
yeah.
dig into it. It's more than just an email list. you're providing it in a different way. It really actually
Yeah,
is getting me excited for a couple of things that I need to do on my site. So thank you.
that's right.
So
For sure.
okay, cool. So that gated content, that's pretty interesting.
I have one more to share that I actually really like and has worked well for us too, and that's running online contest. So running online contest, you're sending people, people come to your website or your socials, and you say, hey, subscribe in order for the opportunity to win X, Y, and Z. And that is a really powerful way to grow your list very quickly. I think the thing that you do have to be aware of when you're using contest is that obviously people like to win things. So you may end up with something that's a little bit lower quality in the first place as far as the leads coming through that email list. If you just run a very broad email list. But here's what I want, or contest. Here's what I want you to do instead. Instead of just running this contest that's available to every single person that comes to your website, which can kind of dilute the quality of the leads that are coming through because not everyone is interested in what you're offering. What I want you to do instead is place that contest on your highest converting pages. Place that contest on the most popular pages of your site, uh, so that the people who are seeing that contest in the first place are more likely qualified leads, or show it only to returning visitors. Now, I know for sure some people are like, this sounds crazy already. Like, this is over my head a little bit. I know that some people are thinking that, but you only need two things to do this. You need opt-in monitor, like we talked about, because of the ability to target that offer by the page that the person is on, and you need Raffle Press, which is the software that I love for running contests. So you take that Raffle Press contest and you shove it into an opt-in monster campaign, and you say only display this campaign on brownies and cookies, because that's where the people convert the best. And so the people coming to those are going to be good quality leads for you. And that's how or show it only to returning visitors. That's how you take a contest and you make it a better lead generation, better email list builder for you than just running a broad contest. Now, can you run a broad contest? Yes, absolutely. That's still a really good way to grow your list. Just know that on the backside of that, you may have to go and kind of pick out the people who are not very engaged in your email list over time, because they do tend to attract people who just are trying to win the thing that you're offering in the first place. So
Yeah, I've done a broad one and I liked it. I got my it was for YouTube subscribers and I got it but then yeah, you immediately go back. So I really like your very granular approach of just do people returning or on just your high performing so that you're getting more of a targeted audience. I really
yeah,
love that idea. I'll have
yeah.
to try that next time. So we've talked about a lot. Are there any tips that you think we should cover that we haven't yet?
Yes. So especially for your first 100 visitors, these are going to help you eventually get to your 1,000. But if you don't do these for the first 100, you're not going to get to the first 100. So very simple tips. People cannot subscribe if they don't know it's an option. So now listen, you have to hear what I'm saying here. When you're first trying to get your very first 100 people, I want you to at least consider just emailing the people that you know. I mean, straight emailing, like you open your Gmail account and you email the people you personally know who might be interested in joining your list and say, hey, I'm starting a newsletter about X, Y, and Z. Would you like to subscribe? Here's where you can subscribe. Don't neglect your existing community when you're trying to get to your first 100 people, because they already know and love and trust you and want the best for you. And so reach out to those people and say, hey, do you know anyone who would be interested in this newsletter? That type of thing. For some people, that's going to be your existing customers. You might be a business where you have your website, you have a business going already, but you have never done any email marketing. That's reaching out to your existing customers and saying, hey, I'm starting a newsletter. I'm starting an email list where you can get offers and this type of thing, or recipes for brownies. Would you like to subscribe? And so don't neglect your existing community because it's really important. Number two, mention it really regularly on social. I don't mean just once. I don't mean just mention it the first day that you start your list. I mean, go into Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, whatever, TikTok, whatever you're using, and schedule some posts to happen on a really regular basis that say, hey, If you like what I've been sharing here, subscribe here. Make sure that you've got that offer in your social bios. Everywhere that you can add that on your social media, make sure that you've added the link where they would go and subscribe to your email. Add it in your email footer. When you're sending individual emails from your Gmail account or whatever it happens to be, make sure you add a link there that says subscribe for more about whatever I'm offering. And I would also say keep a pinned post on all of your social networks that is specifically for if you are watching this today and you find this interesting, here's where you can subscribe for access to content that you're not going to get on this social network, that I'm not going to share here with a million people. I'm going to share it only with my VIP readers on my email list. So I would say don't neglect those small areas where you can invite people to join your list, because they definitely add up over time and they will help you get to that 100 number. And then just the very last piece of advice. So we talked about this a little bit the last time we chatted. Just get started. Get started and be consistent. You do not have to do, an email every single week. You truly can do one email a month as long as it's consistent and it's high quality, and that is totally fine. Set the expectation ahead of time, let people know what to expect, but just get started. Whatever you do, that's the most important thing. Get started now so that you can get to that 100 and they can help you get ahead after that.
Angie, I absolutely love your energy for email marketing. It makes me want to go out and start a whole new email list so that I can get my 100 subscribers.
Do it.
Thank you so much for
Yes.
coming on. And hopefully we can talk you into coming on more regularly, because I think that it's a growing
sure.
thing that people need. But thank you for coming on today. Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Okay, right now you've heard some actionable steps on how to get your first 100 email subscribers. Let us know in the comments, how many are you starting with right now, and how many do you hope to get in the next week? And thanks for listening.